would just write practices on the board sometimes that I look at, straight up look at him and go, I can't do that. He'd tell me, no, like you're going to do it. And kind of having someone like believe in you when you don't believe in yourself, that goes a long way. My name is Nina Kucheran, and I'm a swimmer on the swim team at Florida State University, and you are watching Undress the Jersey.
Okay, so let's just to get us kind of started and whatever, like give me a little background about like who you are, where you're from, what you do, where you go to school, just like, yeah, like where did you grow up, like that kind of stuff.
So I'm from Sudbury, Ontario in Canada, obviously, which is Northern Ontario. Pretty small town, kind of, population's pretty big, but it like small town vibes for sure. Born and raised here, and I stayed here until I graduated high school. A lot of like the really good swimmers at that time like would move to like Toronto and like bigger cities to train and stuff like that, but I've always had a really great relationship with my club coach here. And I loved him. I loved training. I trained with the Sudbury Swim Club until I graduated, and I loved it there. I loved my teammates, loved my coach. And then I decided that I wanted to go to the US on a scholarship to be D1 in the NCAA system. And so I committed to Florida State when I was in grade 12. And I now just finished up my sophomore year, so my second year, studying exercise physiology, and I'm on the swim team there.
Nice. And before I build on, I guess to give like, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm originally from Nova Scotia, born in a really small town called Truro outside Halifax. And I stayed here until grade 8, and for grade 9, I went to Vermont and played basketball at boarding school for 4 years with the hopes of going D1 and whatever, playing like March Madness. And I had the big dream. Ended up coming back home and going to St. FX for university, and I just graduated last year, so 2019.
Cool.
So I've been out a year. I have since moved to London, England, and I was there for 5.5-ish months, 6 months until the coronavirus, and now I'm back home. But I guess I'm genuinely curious of like how Florida State, because I know especially in basketball, it takes a specific like a tournament or a game for coaches to come and recruit talent. How did someone from Florida, of all places, find you in Ontario?
Yeah, so for swimming, like if you are looking to go to the US anywhere, you sign yourself up and like create an account on this website called College Swimming. And so you kind of put in like pictures of yourself, your best times, videos of you swimming, so that coaches can kind of like recruit you on there and see you. So got a few emails on that, but I actually like reached out to Florida State first. Like I would send emails to like coaches of the schools that I was interested in, so I reached out to them. Had a few phone calls with the head coach Neil Studd when I was in grade 12, and then took a recruiting trip when I was just starting my senior year of high school and loved it. So took my few other trips. I was looking at a few other schools, and at the end of it, I just knew I wanted to go to Florida State, so committed there.
Well, I'm super jealous because Florida, of all places, is like, obviously you get the nice weather, the beaches, and so like I always had the dream or like the idea in my head, like the best thing if I were to go to school down south somewhere after practice or whatever, like just go to the beach, relax. Like is that a big reason why why did you choose Florida State out of all places?
So I mean, people automatically think, oh, Florida, like beach, warm weather, whatever, and like it is. I'm not going to complain because I know it's way colder in Canada, but like I'm like very North Florida, like I'm closer to Georgia, like at
okay.
Georgia, so it does get cold. Like the winter, like sometimes we're swimming outside and it's like 8 degrees Celsius, like gets down to 0 every now and then. Like it's not warm like all year round, and I think I'm an hour from the beach, so I'm not like right on the beach. But definitely like training outside. We do train outside in an outdoor facility, and it's awesome. Like I love that. So that was a big thing that attracted me, and just like the team culture. And I don't know, at the time when I was on my recruiting trip, the 4th fastest breaststroker in NCAA was my host. So obviously like they had a lot of success with people who swim the same thing as me, and I was just really inspired, and I thought it was going to be a really good place that I could go and like be the best athlete that I could be.
Let's take it all the way back to you as a kid, and how, like, tell us a little bit how you got into the sport. Like, what influences did you have? Were you always a natural swimmer? Were you terrified of swimming? Like, give us some of that backstory.
When I was young, my sister and I kind of tried like every sport, like soccer, skating, you name it, we did it all. And we both started like swim lessons, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know if this is how it works anyways, but the swim lessons that I took, it was like you got to a certain age where like if you were so young, like you couldn't move on to be your bronze cross or like whatever, because you had to be like a certain age. But my sister and I were both really like naturally, I guess, good swimmers. So they put us in like the endurance swim, and my dad had connections with the university head coach in Laurentian University, my hometown. So kind of reached out, and then I switched over from swimming lessons to competitive swimming with my sister, and yeah, we both loved it. So that was when I was 8 years old. I started competitive swimming, and we both really liked it, and we both stuck to it.
And boom, you knew that this was like, okay. Was it for you? Was it just like swimming? Oh, I can't wait to go swimming this weekend, or was it like, okay, I'm locked in. I want to be the best swimmer to ever live. Like, where were you on that spectrum?
Yeah, I think I have a very like naturally competitive personality. So like whether it's swimming or like anything else I do, like if I'm doing something, like I want to be the best at it. And I think I just found that I had like a talent for swimming more than anything else. Skating, not the most coordinated person. Soccer, same kind of thing. So I found that I was a little bit better at swimming than other things, and I immediately just loved it and wanted to take it as far as I could.
Well, I agree, and I think it's a big benefit that the first, well, obviously you were doing a bunch of sports, but then once you found swimming, you were like, okay, this is it. Because even I can relate. I didn't really play other sports. Obviously I played like sports in the backyard with my friends and stuff, but it was always basketball. And I guess that was just the thing that I fell in love with, so I continued to play. But for me, like, I get made fun of, especially coming from a small town, because all of my friends growing up were hockey players. Yeah. And I can't even skate on ice, and so like I was always that outcast. But I was doing a little bit. I was trying to do my best to do some research and like come up with some questions I could ask you, but just from your Instagram and stuff, I saw that, one, I found you from the U Sports International Instagram page, meaning you competed in the FISU games.
I did last year, yeah, in Italy.
That was last year.
Yeah.
So my understanding, like I had a teammate who played in the FISU games from St. X for basketball, and my understanding about how the selection behind that team is. Hold on, I think I lost it. Yeah. Is that they kind of comprise a team of the best basketball players from, I don't know, across the country. With you being in Florida State, what was the selection process behind that for swimming?
Yeah, so, well, you have to be Canadian, first of all. And so every year there's like a trials of some sort for swimming, whether it's like last year it was World Trials, this year would have been Olympic Trials. So the teams that they were choosing at Canadian Trials last year, like Canadian Nationals basically, they were picking teams to go to World Championships, Pan Am Games, and FISU. So if you're on their radar, if you're placing high enough in any one of your events, you have the opportunity to be on like the national team, whatever like level you do. So.
And that's something, obviously, like if you're taking swimming that's serious, like to represent your country is a big thing. But when you found out that there was an opportunity to go to a trial, like I'm just trying to dive into your brain in terms of like you sitting at home seeing that there's a Team Canada trial race coming up or tournament. Are you searching for that, or did it just happen to fall into your lap and the opportunity came about?
So it's every year. Like Canada does this every year. So for as long as I've been qualifying for these, I've always gone every year. Like they have age group nationals, senior nationals, and then trials. So whatever level, like how, depending on how fast you are, if you have the time, you can go to the meet. So that's like kind of the big focus every year is like for as long as I think I qualified for trials my first time in 2015 for the Pan Am trials.
Okay.
Ever since then, every year, that's just the big meet where you're like going there to just, first of all, race the best people in the country. And like for a long time, it wasn't even about making a team for me. Like it was just about going, getting the experience. And then when I was high school, it's about going to try and make the junior national team. And then now it's obviously I'm too old for that. So it's.
Right. And did you feel before, because obviously you ended up making the team, so you qualified, but was there any doubt, or were you hesitant to being like, oh, I don't even know, like it's going to be close, I don't think this is a sure opportunity for me to make the team?
Oh yeah, it's never like a sure like opportunity unless you're like the people who are like, you know, winning. Like, and I've never won a nationals. I'm not like the best in the country, but like I have been consistently like top 10 for the past few years.
Okay.
Going to trials, I know there's an outside chance, you know, if I do really well, something special could happen, I could make a team, and then if not, well, that's disappointing. I had my sights set on Pan Am Games last trials and missed that by just a little bit, but I got to go to FISU, which was a really great experience. I really loved it. So,
and I'm sure it's the same, because for me as a basketball player growing up, I always knew who the best players were in the country. And so I knew if I were to go to a tournament or an exhibition game or a Team Canada tryout, I knew that I was going to compete against these other players. Are there particular players or particular swimmers that you know of and you kind of compare yourself to? Like, did you ever battle with that?
Oh yeah, like I know who the best people are. I've been fortunate enough to go to like some training camps with like the top 5 girls in my event, which was a really great experience because I got to kind of train with them and see what they do. And it's usually kind of like the same people that are dominating, so it's nice to like know them and have a relationship with them, and like I look up to them. So yeah, I definitely look forward to racing them and trying to get to that level, hopefully one day myself.
Of course, because it's always the whole premise behind UndressTheJersey is to kind of get those like stories that aren't necessarily shared by the mainstream media or club teams or team whatever highlights and stuff.
Grab a charger, my phone's gonna die.
No problem, that's okay. Like I said, there's a lot of post-production and stuff.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, what were you saying?
Just in turn, like I'll wait till you get your phone and stuff. Yeah, like my whole the things that I like the most about talking to athletes like this is really trying to get, like, for me as someone who doesn't really know swimming or what goes on at the meets and stuff, I'm curious to like get a behind the scenes look of like you guys all lining up, getting ready to listen to the countdown, and you're doing your stretch, kind of like this thing, and like what's going on when you're in a moment. Like let's take it back to that trial of the FISU games or whatnot. Was there, like, can you think of a story of what's going on in your head and you're looking down the line and either it's butterflies or like what's, you see your grandmother up in the stands cheering you on with a big sign, like what's almost like a specific, like I'm really challenging you here right now, obviously on the spot.
So whether it's
like, that stands out?
Whether it's like a Canadian trials or you're at FISU or like, like I went to Youth Olympics when I was 18, any meets like that, like they always bring you into a ready room. So you're sitting with all the people you're about to race against. So you usually find out kind of like an intense atmosphere, but I try not to look around too much at other people or like try and look in the stands for people. I try not to do that because I try and kind of stay like internally focused more and just on myself, because at the end of the day, you are racing other people, but like at least for me, I find whenever I start focusing on other people, it kind of takes away from like my own energy to myself. So I kind of just try and keep a one-track mind, I guess, and just stay focused.
Have you done that before? Like, was there, whether it's in high school or now at Florida State, where you're like really you find like you're caught up inside your own head in terms of comparing yourself to other people?
Yeah, and I think that's probably my biggest downfall is I still end up doing that sometimes, and it's hard because, like the only person you should be focusing on yourself. But I do find that sometimes I focus on the wrong things, and that can lead to performance anxiety. And then of course, like when you're thinking about others and times and, I have to do this, I have to do that, you're never going to perform as well as you want to do. So it's definitely still a work in progress, and I'm working towards it for sure. Like,
are you like in this moment in time of your career, are you over that? Like, are you learning to not let that affect you, or is it worse now? Like,
it's not, it's getting better, but it's not something that just is overnight and one day you just realize it and then it's like that forever. I mean, maybe some people, at least for me, it's not. It's still like you have to work at those things every day. Like you have to practice like every day and really work towards that. And sometimes it's worse than others, sometimes it's better than others. And when you have those races where you're on it and everything just clicks and everything's perfect and amazing, that's awesome. But the reality is a lot of the time that's not what happens. So it's just important to like push through that.
100%. Also, like in your Instagram, I saw like, I feel like you've been to every country in the world. Is this because of swimming, or is it just because you travel a lot? Like,
no, I say pretty much every country I've been to in the past maybe 5 years of my life has been because of swimming, which is a blessing because I get to see other countries. I mean, I wish I got to see a little bit more than the pool sometimes, but I'm super got to go to. I was in Fiji for Junior Pan Pacs in 2018 and Argentina for Youth Olympics in 2018. Italy for FISU, And now that I'm in an NCAA school, I get to travel around the U.S. for dual meets and stuff, which is awesome. And just love meeting new people and seeing pools and,
Of course. Where's your favorite, like, where's your most favorite place that you've traveled to through swimming?
Swimming wise or like culture wise?
Anything really. Like, even I can see someone answering that question in the way, like, I loved Fiji because in Fiji, our bus broke down and we all had to fix the tire together. And that was a memorable, like, trip. Like, what was the most memorable trip for you?
I think culture-wise and like overall experience, when I went to Italy, like Naples for FISU, that was definitely like my favorite experience because we were staying on a cruise ship in Italy, which was just beautiful. I don't think the meet was organized the best. Like the buses always took forever, and that was kind of like, it wasn't the best organized meet I've been to. The pool wasn't my favorite either. But overall experience, like it was like my first, like I guess like senior national team, even though it's like the lower one. Like it was still my first experience, and I just really liked it. And as far as like when I went to Fiji as well for junior Pan Pacs, that was like my first junior team, and a lot of my best friends were on that team as well. And like I find that really, really close. When we were there and I performed, like that was the first time I had ever like gotten a medal on like an international scene. So that was definitely one of my favorite experiences as well, just from like the swimming perspective, but for like culture and like what I got to see, Italy was definitely a really cool experience.
Of course. I love the fact that, so like you said, your best friends, were they best friends from like growing up, or did you just get close to them from being on the same team?
No, I mean, in the swimming world, it's pretty small in Canada. Like you're racing against the same people like a lot of the time. And it just so happened that me and a lot of the people that I've been racing and training and going to camp for a really long time made that team. And it was just a really good time, like being there with your closest friends.
I continue to say to this day, like now that I'm done playing basketball, obviously I look back and I love the game, and I love the practices, and I love warming up and shooting the ball and winning games and all that kind of stuff. But I think now that I'm out of the game, the thing that I love the most about basketball was the friends that or the relationships that I've made. Because I mean, growing up, especially for team sport, you're playing on multiple teams, and you've been on multiple teams, like my high school team, even before high school, junior high, club team, AAU, now university. I almost feel like it's separate little families in a sense. And those people, like each team has a different memory and a different time and place. And I just think that's the biggest thing that comes from sports, other than like winning games or winning medals and stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that completely as well. Because like obviously, like I remember like when I've medaled at big meets and like done incredible things that I never thought I could do. Like you remember those moments. But at the end of the day, like I couldn't tell you one of my exact times from a certain meet. It's the people and the memories that you make, that last a lifetime. And I feel like I've been very blessed to have like really awesome people around me that I know are gonna be.
Especially for you too, like traveling. I mean, without getting too off topic, like that's a big reason why, say you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, like that first time you go away together, it's like, when you experience something new for the first time together, it always makes it that much better. So my most memorable times is when the St. FX team would travel to Toronto or Montreal for a preseason tournament. It's got to be even on another stage for you when you're going worldwide and living on cruises in Italy.
I'm blessed. I'm truly blessed. It's just experiences that I never thought, like growing up, that I'd like ever really had, and I'm just very thankful for all these.
Of course. So now that you're in Florida State, you just finished your first year?
Second year.
You just finished your second, so you have 2 left?
Yeah.
Talk to me as someone who doesn't even know like how swimming works or meets work, or like in my head it's similar to like a track meet in terms of you have heats, and then like I guess just for my own personal selfish reasons, like can you inform me on what a race day looks like or a competition is?
At NCAA, like at my school?
Yeah.
So it's kind of different. So we have dual meets throughout the year where you're going head to head against another school. And so that's like, you're all wearing like matching like track suits and stuff. You show up and you do a dynamic warm up with your team. You warm up by yourself. And then what's different about a dual meet is it's over in like 3 hours. So as opposed to ACCs, like my conference championships or NCAAs, where your 3 events that you would swim are spread out over 3 or 4 days, like you have one a day. A dual meet is you're swimming all of your best events in the span of 3 hours. So it's tough because it's back to back, and like obviously you're not swimming as fast as you would at like a championship meet because you're not in a racing suit, you're not rested, you're doing everything back to back. But it's a good practice for training and like getting up to like being able to stand up and race. And they're super fun. Like we have some at home, we go away for a lot of them, and it's awesome.
Was that an adjustment for you? Like were you used to that kind of style of dual meets and all that kind of stuff?
No. So I guess high schools in America do that a lot. In Canada, you don't. Like your meets that you go to, they're 2, 3, 4 days long, and like you'll swim multiple events in a day, but like you wouldn't swim your 3 best events back to back in a day. I had never done that before, so it took a while for my body to like get used to that and
for sure
be able to respond, because I was pretty beat for a long time.
Of course. But I'm sure you feel like it's only made you better, like a better swimmer.
Yeah, for sure. It teaches you that like no matter how you feel, no matter how hard your week of training was, what you did yesterday, what you lifted, you have to just be able to stand up and race, and there's no excuses. You just have to kind of stand up and do it. So that's like definitely like positive from what I've learned from that.
And then taking us behind the scenes of a Division I program, like again, I keep going back to my own experience because that's all I know. Like the basketball aspect in Canada versus Division I, like the Division I teams are almost like a professional team that they're traveling in a team plane or a team bus, and there's a lot more funding. What's the facilities are much better. Like what's it like being what's it like being a Florida State Division I swimmer?
Yeah, so I think like the school, first of all, is like really patriotic. Like everyone there is so proud to be a Seminole. It's FSU stuff everywhere. Like you have a war chant that you're doing at the end of every practice. You're doing it on game days. You're doing it when you go watch other sports, and it's awesome. It's like a big family. Like whether you're friends with volleyball players or softball players, like doesn't matter. You're all kind of like a family, which is really cool. And one thing that I noticed from being D1 in the NCAA is you get a lot of support. Like you have 5 coaches on deck or more, 5 or more coaches on deck, like watching different groups, different programs, whether you're a distance swimmer, a sprinter, mid-distance. You have a weight coach, you have an athletic trainer where you can go for treatment whenever you want, just book the appointment. They'll do cupping, they'll do like stuff like all the time. Whatever you need, you have access to cold tubs, hot tubs, you have Normatec, you have massage, you have all these tools that you can use to just really be like the best. You also have a snack room that's open to athletes 24/7.
Right.
That sandwiches, snacks, smoothies. So they really give you every tool possible that you need to be like the best athlete, which is like, I mean,
it's a dream.
Crazy. Yeah, I know it is, because I did very well in club swimming. Like I really liked it, but like you're doing all that stuff on your own. You're packing
Exactly.
Your lunches, you're paying for physio. You're like, so how much they really give you, because they want you to perform well for the school, so they're giving you every tool that you need.
That's
to
right.
do that. Yeah.
And is it like you go to class? Like what's your day? What's a Division I swimmer's day look like in terms of class practice? You're like, do you go do laps on your own because you just want to put in that extra work? Like what's your day-to-day look like?
I would not go put in extra laps because we are doing enough in a week. That's just my body would not do that. But normally we're either swimming twice a day, or we're swimming once and lifting once, or swimming and doing dry land. So we're working out 2 to 3 times a day. The mornings usually start at 6 a.m. So you're at practice at 6 until 7:30. And then on those days, sometimes like we lift on that day as well. So you go back to the stadium, you get your lift in, you eat something, you go to class, maybe go to another class. Sometimes I try and fit a massage in there once every 2 weeks. I go see my trainer for cupping, or if something's hurting, like I'll go do Normatec. I try and cold tub like 3 times a week, like some form of recovery. Then maybe go to another class, and then we have practice again from 2 to 4 at night. And that's outside, and then you train again, and after that it's either you have a lab, or you got homework, or just go eat at the dining hall and go to bed, and that's pretty much every day.
See, and I don't think people who aren't athletes or who haven't been athletes, they don't understand like what you just said there. I think like a lot of people that are going to listen to this are going to be like, holy shit, that's like, and that's every day. Like that's throughout like the whole
like it is an absolute grind, but like that's what you're there for, you know, that's what you've worked your whole life, is to have a scholarship and to get to do those things. So it's not a chore.
Sure.
Not, you know, it's what you love to do.
And then when you finish, like, we're at such an advantage than other people, because once we're done our sport, it's almost like we crave that routine and that hecticness, and just putting your head down and just work, because one, you see the progress that all that does, and it's such a gratifying feeling. You're like, okay, like I want to do more, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like an addiction sort of electric feeling that you get. And so, especially for me, when I finished, this was the first year that I didn't play organized sports in my entire life, for as long as I can remember. And because of that, I really struggled this past year mentally, because I love the gym and I'll always go to the gym and work out and whatever, but I don't think it's the same, because you don't have that kind of quote unquote pressure, like that guilty
hustle.
voice.
Yeah.
The hustle. And it wasn't until I came back here to Halifax and really started to do more for UndressTheJersey and talking to athletes that I'm starting to feel that fire again. But like, just basically, I'm trying to get you to elaborate on the benefit that hectic schedule gives athletes for after their sport.
Well, I think it's skills for life, right? Like, you're learning time management skills, you're learning how to be productive, you're learning how to cope under pressure, how to deal with stress. And, you know, it's just all these things that, like, I feel like a lot of people, unless you're in this setting, like, you have never had to experience. Like, you have to plan your day to a T, like to the minute, like trying to fit in everything you can. And that stuff goes a long way, whether you're going to grad school after this or in a job. Like, work ethic is just stuff that you can take so far, not only in athletics, but like every aspect of your life.
Is grad school something you're looking at, or is it like, say these next 2 years go by, now you're graduating, is it to continue swimming? Is it to say, all right, swimming was great and it was fun, I'm thankful for the experiences, but now it's time to move on? Like, right now, I know it's hard to think 2 years down the road, but where do you think your head is at?
Yeah, I think right now, like, I'd like to finish my 4 years in the NCAA and then maybe come back to Canada, because I think you have one more year eligibility to compete in Canada after that, and maybe do grad school and compete in Canada for another year. And then ideally, I'd like to go to med school somewhere close to home. So we'll see if that turns out. Yeah.
And you mentioned the Olympics. Like, is that something? Like, I know it's every 4 years. Like, are you eligible? Is that something in your future? Is that something you're thinking about?
Yeah, I might stick around until the 2024 Olympic trials and then kind of call like my swim career quits then.
Sure.
Especially right now, because like no one really knows what's happening with like the 2020 trials because of like Corona and stuff. So I guess it depends if I'm still liking it and like loving what I'm doing by that time. Still got some time to figure that out. So as long as I like to keep going, it's just kind of hard to. I feel like it's really hard to perform at the highest level, but also continue on with like life and grad school and all that stuff. Like, I feel like you can only do so much so well. So at some point, give and take. So we'll see.
There's this, I'm sure like everyone knows it. There's this cliche quote of ball is life. Like, especially in the basketball community, it's like ball is life. Like, it's just, you know, without basketball, like, it's just, I just love. And I've had like through the project I've been doing and the ability to talk to a bunch of athletes, I've brought that question up to them in terms of, like, if I'm talking to a basketball player, I say, hey, like, John, is ball life for you? And I've gotten many different answers, because growing up, you would just hear ball is life. And if you were the one that said, no, man, like, ball is not life, then you didn't love it as much as someone else. But I think what you just said is there is more to life than your sport and swimming. And at some point, you need to start thinking about other things, especially as you get older. Like, for me, my goal was Division I, but when I was in my senior year of high school, I said, okay, well, you know, this isn't so much a realistic goal for me anymore. Let me shift my focus, still be able to play basketball, but focus on other areas, right? I know you just finished your second year, but are you starting to experience that?
The what? Sorry.
Like are you
Like,
are you exactly like you talking about med school?
Yeah, like I think it's tough because like in high school it's very like, okay, like you go to school and you do what you're told to do, and like as you get older it's like you start realizing there's more things, like, you know, like you're gonna have to get a job like after you finish swimming and college, like there's what are you gonna do, you know, you can't swim forever, and like I love swimming so much, and like as long as I'm doing it I want to do it at the highest level. But it's also tough because you got to think about your future. Like right now I'm really trying to fit in time to volunteer, because obviously that's like for grad school applications and stuff super important. You got to make sure your grades are up. I'm also on student council. Like I try and do other things, you know, that kind of like to get the full experience out of being like an NCAA athlete. I don't just want to go there and swim 4 years. Like I do want to do that, but I also want to like make sure I get the whole experience to just be set for life, I guess.
Which like that's not easy for someone to say, because I feel like if you think of an athlete is just an athlete and just trying to be the best in their own sport, and it's almost like to hear someone say, well, you know, yes, that's true, but I'm also trying to do these other things too. Do you feel any sort of pressure from other people being like, oh, you're not 100% invested in swimming, or you don't really care that much, you don't want to be the best?
No, because I think like I'm a very like type A personality, I guess, and like when I'm at the pool, like I'm at the pool, and like most of what I do when I am at school revolves around swimming, because I know that I'm not doing this for much longer. So as much as I do try and fit in the other things, like swimming is definitely number one priority for me. I do fit in the other things because it's important, like, you know, to have like that balance, and you do need to have a balance. But I think like my work ethic just shows that like swimming is something that I really care about and that I put a lot of energy into. And, yeah.
Who do you owe that to? Is that something you learned on yourself, or from a swim coach, or your family?
Yeah, my sister used to drag me out of bed when I was younger to practice because I didn't want to go. So I can thank her, I guess, for like a lot of where I am today, because she's a very hardworking person, and I guess it just runs in the family. Like I've had great role models to look up to. Like I said, my club coach in town as well, like I've always had a really great relationship with him, and he's kind of teaching me how to push myself to do things that like you don't think you can do, and really just test your limits and like make the most of every situation. So I'm definitely blessed for like a lot of amazing role models that I've had to like shape me into the person I am today, I guess.
Is there a specific time that you can think of where your swim coach made you go above and beyond, or like a specific story or time?
Oh yeah, he would just write practices on the board sometimes that I'd look at and straight up look at him and go, I can't do that. Like there is no way I can do that. He'd tell me, no, like you're going to do it. And kind of having someone like believe in you when you don't believe in yourself, that goes a long way. And so, you know, some of them I'd fail. Like I failed a lot of times, but like that's also how you get better. And sometimes I didn't fail, and sometimes I'd finish a set and be like, I didn't think I could do that. And it's like the best feeling in the world to like, you know, that's how you get better. Because for me, that's a lot of like when I stand up on the blocks ready to race, I can look back and think, I did this in training, I did this, these are all the steps that I took, so I can stand up confidently and race well, because I know I've done everything to prepare myself. So he was like a big role in like, I guess, learning that like mentality.
It's funny you say that, because in the last interview that I did, I interviewed David Thompson, who's a hockey player for the University of Toronto, and he played Team Canada, and he's all Canadian now, like, and whatnot. But he said the same thing. His quote was that he used to let fear govern his career forever in terms of self-doubt and that kind of stuff. But he mentioned a quote from Michael Jordan saying, there's no reason to be scared, because I know the amount of work that I've put in, and I should be confident in my own ability strictly because of the time and effort that I put in towards this. And ever since he kind of made that switch, he's just been dominating. Like he's one of the best hockey players in Canada now.
Yeah.
But for you to say that's such an important part of sports, is like to do something that you just think is impossible. Yeah. And so it makes other things not seem as hard.
I agree.
You know? I'm
gonna get going in the next 10 minutes if that's okay.
No problem. So let's finish on where, like, just so people that are listening, if they want to continue to like follow you and your swimming and stuff, where can they find you, like you're online and stuff?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure every single one of my social medias, including TikTok, I'm kidding.
Hey.
It's Nina Kucheran, so NINAKUCHERAN. So if people want to follow me on Twitter and Instagram,
Yeah.
I'm a good poster.
And see your renegades and stuff.
Yeah, my dancer. Yeah, you'll be able to see why I swim.
This was a pleasure. Nice to meet you, Nina, and I'll keep in contact with you.
Thank you. It was nice to virtually
All right.
meet you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a good night. My name is Nina Kucheran, and you have been watching Undress the Jersey.